And we're back with the Costello Coaching Podcast. I'm Tommy Costello with episode 3 with my man, Brad Boyer. Big B, you ready to go?
Let's do this, baby.
Okay. This one is going to be all about what the best players you've coached have taught you.
Yep.
So most people think that, the coaches shape the players, and they do in a certain way. But I really believe that the players shape the coaches. And if you're really around talent, the way that you've been around talent and the way I've been around talent, the best things I've learned to teach players are from other players. And the second that your mind and your heart is open to helping players, you can then begin to really understand what they're doing so well and how you could offer what they're doing so well and what you're noticing about what they're doing so well to other players.
Oh, yeah.
And
absolutely.
I know that there's some standout players that you've coached that you've learned from. And so I just kind of wanted to pick your brain on what are some of those things that you've learned from players. And if we have this thing recorded in a conversation, then it could help thousands of people or, even more with those insights.
Yeah. So how I look at it, man, elite players, when I'm looking at elite players, they create elite simplicity. They are CEOs. They are captain of their thoughts. They aren't captive. These guys, they make the game look easy. They're so prepared in their preparation, the way their mindset, their belief in themselves. And what these guys have allowed me being around such high-level players is, they've made me think outside the box and be creative. Words are powerful, and so when I'm talking to these guys, what one idea or cue resonates for one player might mean a totally different thing for another guy. So when I'm learning about their personality, I'm learning and understanding who they are, and I kind of just make observations because I want to hear them talk first. Being a good listener is huge. And once you listen and really soak it in, you're able to attack a really good game plan with them.
Yeah, so I think that's interesting too because I've been around you, giving hitting sessions to Christian Yelich and Blake Rutherford and Weston Wilson, and I've gotten to witness those things, such high-level players, and I've also gotten to witness you giving hitting sessions to college player and high school players and then even youth players. And what I notice about when you give sessions to pro guys is it's almost a lot less talking, and maybe what may seem like as an outsider, if you were to kind of pull up a chair and watch the session, it would seem like you're doing less coaching, but in reality, you're just doing more listening. And I think what you do really well and even my experience with the pro guys is you just want to listen to what's going on in their head and then see if, a simple cue or piece of advice can pull a big lever for them. And I think that's what you do extremely well when I've watched you work with these guys. Is that intentional?
Yeah, absolutely. One of my biggest hitting mentors, this guy, Craig Wollenbrock, always told me to be mild in your beliefs and strong in your curiosity. So I'm always curious when I watch these guys work. I want to kind of sit back and see how they move, see what they're feeling. I want them to give me feedback before I give my opinion, because sometimes my opinion, it doesn't matter. It matters on what they are feeling and what they're telling me, so I can kind of, structure up something and really I got to get really creative. There's times when there are challenges, but I don't want to show that I might be not really have an idea at times. For me, it's I'll have to get really creative and kind of think outside the box.
So what's something that Christian Yelich has taught you, for example?
Well, first of all, Yelich has really taught me about being even-keeled and not ride the roller coaster in this game. Yelich is not a rah-rah guy. He's a guy that leads by his actions. And I've really learned from him, first and foremost, the mentality of how to manage a long season. He really is a CEO of it's a long year. So you got to be able to manage the highs and lows. And one thing I really notice about Christian, Tommy, is he can laugh at himself. And I think that's a high level way of regulating your emotions, because there's times when you're playing in a long season or working on your skill and you're just frustrated with the way it goes. And Christian will just sometimes, he'll take a step back and kind of like laugh at himself and be like, I don't have it today, man. And I think that at times that laughing at yourself and being able to brush things off really lets you handle adversity and lets you kind of overcome like some of these rigors of the game.
That's really cool. So I think his ability, what I'm hearing, and I've got to be around him for a long time, got to train with him when I was playing, and he's a friend now, and watching him work, and do the work and being so consistent over such a long period of time. Like, people don't realize, what is he, 32, 33?
I would say Christian's probably now 34, about 4 or 5.
34, but he got drafted at 18.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's been doing it for 16 years as a professional ball player. That's a long time. And he's always been so humble with his approach. But like you said, I think, setting the pace for knowing that it's going to be a long season and that there's going to be ups and downs, but then understanding, what the work is day in, day out is something that he's been really, really consistent with.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I always go back to, these guys are true CEOs of how they manage, how they handle it. Because of his experiences shape who we are in this game. And when you see with younger kids, they have to feel good to do good. They got to be 3 for 3 to or they got to be, they're hitting, 450 on the season for them to yeah, I'm the man. Where Christian, he knows it deep down inside. It's genuine.
Wow. Yeah, that's powerful right there. Like, there's some people that just know that they got it and they don't need the affirmation on the outside. They don't even need the statistics or the hype, and they just know it. And I mean, he comes up in clutch moments all the time. Like, you look at, what did he do this past weekend? Was that a go-ahead or a walk-off?
I mean, he came in, this was yesterday, pinch hit, comes in, game's on the line. The crowd is chanting, Yelich, Yelich. I mean, that's a lot, and to manage your adrenaline in this game, and then to go up and absolutely hit, I mean, I don't even know if the ball's landed yet. That was an absolute nuke, T. And what's so funny about this is I'm working, I'm in the cage yesterday, and I'm getting text messages. Did you see that? And so I had to take a moment and kind of relish that moment a little bit. And, last night I texted Yelich, I said, man, that was an absolute pimp job, bro. Like, that got me goosebumps. And you know what his response was? It was, yeah, man, that was a good one. So my point is, T, is that's how humble of a guy he is. That's how, whereas there's other guys that are, that'd be like, oh yeah, that I hit that to outer space. But Yelich's response, yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, he's so chill about it. I think that's his personality too. And playing within your personality is something that we've talked about before. And he's special. So give me another guy that you learned something. So I think if we were to, really summarize what you've learned from Christian, it's more so how to manage your emotions long-term, how to stay consistent, and know that you have that confidence and conviction deep within you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's several other players, T, I want to talk about. One is Ryan Braun and Manny Ramirez. First, Ryan Braun is a really good friend of mine. The one thing, Brawny, he is the embodiment of competitive greatness. I mean, this guy, when I got to know Brawny when I was 16, and I played the area codes with him, and gosh, the confidence almost came off as arrogance. But it wasn't. It was genuine belief, and that energy was contagious. And Brawny, man, he was a fierce competitor. This is going outside the mechanic standpoint, absolute fierce competitor. He relished big moments. I mean, when the game was on the line, go check the highlight reels. I mean, Brawny would be on SportsCenter, MLB Network every night on big moments, hitting a home run, game-tying double, playoff games. This guy absolutely loved pressure. He ate it up, and that is something that he just had a knack for that, and that was really special to see. When it came to the mechanics standpoint, Ryan, what stands out is his routine. You know, he sticks to his guns. Like every day, if he showed up to the cage or the ballpark, everything he did, he was a big high tee guy, you know, and he never, you know, changed course. That was always how he started his work, was high tee. And then the other thing was just like easy feel swings, just hitting low, easy line drives. He was all about staying on top. Now, he wasn't chopping down on the ball. He was just all about like making sure my hands stay above the ball. But the high tee stuff, when he showed up to the park, that's something he always did. And so it's about sticking to a routine and having a game plan.
Yeah. Do you notice it's when I hear stories of great players that had success over long term, you know, they stayed consistent with what they did. I noticed that a lot of players that maybe have sporadic success will consistently change their routine. You know, they'll always be changing it up. But I've talked to, you know, people that had a lot of success in multiple sports, you know, not only baseball, but they were so consistent in what they did, and their success in the game didn't change what they were doing within the routine. Yeah, if they've had a consistent failure, they notice that they need to make an adjustment strategically with what they're doing within their gameplay, but maybe not so much with what they're doing in their routine. So like, and I wouldn't be able to confirm this because I never played with him and I don't know him as well as you, but if, you know, Ryan was 0 for 15, he was still going to that high tee. And is that something he would do? Yeah,
Ryan, you know, from what I've heard from other players, and he was always on the same. He was so high level with his discipline. It was another level that was impressive. It didn't matter about how much success he was having that month, or if he was in a major slump. He went back to that routine. Then he'd get in the on deck circle, put his donut on, do his little get his back loose, and then back to these high turns. He'd create these high turns. That was his feel, and he stuck with it all the time. And what I notice is with these greats is they all have a specific routine, and they're stubborn to it. They stick to it. And one other thing, T, is I know you've been around a lot of like great young players, and what I was impressed with over this last year is you've been around guys like Bryce Rayner, Quentin Young, and the year before Boston Bateman, and kind of share that, because when I was seeing what the pressure Quentin Young was dealing with the expectations, but he came in here and he worked and he came in here for hours, right? I mean, can you kind of share something, on with those players that you?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, you getting to talk about like, big leaguers having success. And I fortunately have seen a lot of high school and amateur players have a lot of success with, pressure is perceived, differently by different people, right? So, Christian getting the call yesterday to get on the, pinch hit with everyone yelling his name, like he might perceive that as like a little bit, not a lot. Like it's just a game in March, right? And versus I've played in bigger games than this and bigger moments, but he relishes that opportunity where some guys would panic under that opportunity, right? So pressure is perceived by all different types of players and people. And so high school guys though, like Quentin, I think there was a lot of expectation for him to perform. He had two uncles that got drafted within the first 5 picks. They're, longtime big leaguers. And Quentin had a great ability to once again stay consistent with what he did. It wasn't like he was the rah-rah guy in the gym. It would be trying to lift the most amount of weights and prove it to everyone all the time in here. But if it was 8 a.m. on Monday, he was here at 8 a.m. on Monday, and he was getting his 3 hours of work in. And if it was Tuesday, he was doing the same thing. Wednesday, doing the same thing. Thursday, doing the same thing. Friday, doing the same thing. And during the offseason this year, same thing. Like he was always doing his work. It wasn't about, what the work looked like on any given day or trying to, set records on any given day, but it was about the long term of just sticking with the plan. And I think any of them who have had success, like that's what they're really good at. And I think Jacob Wilson is another guy that I got to witness. He was very specific on what he was trying to achieve. He didn't get distracted from what other people were telling him he needed to do. he knew that he was focused on what he needed to do, and he was going to work really hard at that. And he wasn't going to let outside circle people influence what his work was. So yeah, I think it's parallels with the pros and the amateurs on how they find their success, but that's like two of those guys. They kind of found their own things that they needed to do.
Well, I feel like what we're talking about is it's tuning out the noise, right? There's a lot in this baseball game. We're in the baseball world. We're looking for constant approval, and I feel like when we're dependent upon that, we chase the wrong things. And I feel like these guys, they get into this like flow state where they are tunnel vision. Would you say that's like
100%? And not letting the wrong people influence them, I think, is the biggest point to reiterate. Like, once they've found their people that, are within that circle, they hear them, they listen to them, they know that those people support them as a ball player and outside of as being a ball player. I think that's really important to understand. And then they lean on their information and their advice, and they're not getting distracted by everyone's voice. And so it's like, what noise do I listen to? Because there's going to be noise, but what do I stay focused on is the most important thing, and who do I trust here? And then can I follow that advice? So I think for young players, a lot of times they try to follow every piece of advice, whether it's on social media and they're scrolling through and they're listening to every clip and they're trying to digest it and do it. That's impossible.
Well, you're gonna find yourself in the weeds, man. Like you're gonna be in the trenches when you keep doing that, right? You're gonna get lost. And but with the young kids, they're continuing to seek approval from everyone, from all, and like you seek approval from your closest mentors. And I think that's really important to you.
Yeah, family, parents, close friends, not even all your friends, and then maybe that one coach. Maybe you should, be able to list all these people off on one hand, who are the ones that can influence you and help you.
T, like another thing, I see a really special major league guy that's retired now that comes in here, Derek Lee, and his son comes in. And what's something that like Derek, I know Derek, he played a long time, had a lot of success, very open, just an absolute great guy. Is there anything that like he shared with you that really, stood out to you?
I mean, it's just so funny because I feel like we're saying the same thing over and over again, but he was so consistent in what he did. Like, you find out that these players that achieved at such a high level, there's no secret sauce, no secret formula. He, when he talks about his routine, sounds really similar to Braun. Like, he was focused on staying on top of the ball, staying in his back leg, working this way, doing that. I'd hit off the tee, then I'd hit some flips, then I'd hit a few on the field, and I'd stretch and I'd go out and play. And it was nothing extra. It was exactly what he needed to do on that day. And that's like, it's so much easier said than done, because you could be the player in the moment that's struggling, right? You could be the player that's like needs that hit tonight, and you're just pushing and pressing for it. But once again, like you said, Christian just had that belief, and Ryan had that belief deep inside them that they know that they're going to succeed and they don't need that validation. That helps them stay consistent with what their plan and approach is.
Yeah. I mean, T, there's one other guy that's that really is standing out in my mind right now, and that's Manny Ramirez. And Manny, my gosh, that guy was very unique. I mean, Manny being Manny, he had a very, very unique personality. He played with so much joy and passion. This is a story that resonates with me. About 4 years ago, I was working with my mentor, Craig Wollenbrock. Manny flies out. Now, Manny's been done for about 10 years. Okay, he's been done for 10 years. And this guy is hungry to keep learning. And Manny shows up, he comes to this dumpy building in Santa Clarita. We're talking, this is not state of the art. This is a dumpy industrial building. And I'm sitting there with Craig, and Manny, when we show up to the building, Manny's already waiting outside the building. He is so punctual. This guy was there. I was like, Manny, when did you show up, man? He's like, I've been waiting for you, Poppy, for 30 minutes. I'm like, wow, Manny, that was like, this guy was like willing to, like, he was ready to work. And when he stepped into that building, man, Manny is a relentless worker. He was so obsessed with his craft, his routine, You could just see it. Like when he got into the cage, Manny was working on, a lot of, hand-eye coordination and little different drills. He'd have the machine like set up close, and all Manny was trying to do was catch the ball. I know that's something Bonds talks about, but Manny wasn't trying to take full swings. He was just taking easy and just catching it with the barrel. He would start out doing those little drills right there. Then we'd go into me and Craig are like, Manny, like you've already hit over 500 plus home runs. Like, what else do you need? He's like, no, Poppy, I want to see video. I'm in the cage showing Manny.
What was he working on, though? He's retired for 10 years.
I think Manny was, there was maybe a chance he was going to try to go, play in Japan. I don't know. Or it was more of like, he wanted to learn so he could help teach his kids and then go on and give back to younger kids or maybe be a hitting coach. I think that's what was going on.
Cool.
Yeah. And Manny I'm telling you guys, for the whole week, we would work 3 hours a session 3 times a day, watching video of his highlights. And he's like, you see that one? That's how I hold my back leg right there. You see that? And I was like, yeah, Manny, you don't need any more. And he goes, no, man, let's keep working, Brad. And I remember, there's a story that Manny talked about. I go, Manny, like, how did you do it, man? He goes, Brad, the ball would slow down 10 feet out in front of me. I start to chuckle. I go, the baseball doesn't slow down, Manny. He goes, I go, dang, you made the game look easy. I said, Poppy, how'd you do that? He goes, it was my rhythm. I would get up early. I had this little pump. And when I got down, just because I was so in sync, he was all about getting up early with that leg kick. And when he would get down, the ball would slow down 10 feet out in front of him. That's what he said. He was that much in the zone. And he made the game that easy. And that's, to me, is preparation of doing all the hand-eye coordination drills and catching it with the barrel. Manny would show up, to Fenway Park. He'd leave his hotel and be at Fenway at 8 a.m. He'd go and hit countless hours in the morning and game plan for the pitcher that night. He'd go back to the Four Seasons or the Ritz, I think he was staying in Boston, take his nap, and then be back at the ballpark again for BP. That's how much he was dedicated to his craft.
This guy who hit over 500 homers.
Yeah, it was, and he made it look easy too.
Jack, my brother, it was a funny little video we found during COVID. It was 18-minute long video of Manny Ramirez home runs with the song Magic Stick in the background. You guys should find that on YouTube. It's just a random bootlegged Magic Stick is on repeat on this highlight reel of him hitting homers for 18 minutes in a row. And if you want to learn how to hit, just watch that video because it's like the things he does. Like I always reference him. It's so cool. I didn't even realize that you got to work with him. I know it was after he was done playing, but still really cool. There's endless things you could learn from a player like that. But yeah, man, I think the biggest thing, even to wrap this up a little bit, is the greatest players. It's the obvious things, man. It's the obvious things. They stay consistent. They believed in themselves and they worked relentlessly.
And,
right?
they know how to, they have a purpose. Every day they're convicted. They have a purpose. And through the season, all these superstars that we can learn from, they know how to overcome adversity. They know how to brush things off and tune out the noise.
Man, that's awesome. Really, really good stuff that, anyone can learn from. Listen to this. And if you're a hitter or if you're a pitcher, whatever you are in this game, like the greatest players really, really have the ability to stay consistent, believe in themselves, and work tirelessly.
One more thing, T. I've been, really blessed to be able to work with your brother, Jack Costello. Jack was a 10th rounder with the Padres, and this guy is a relentless worker as well, and is so confident and believes in himself. But he really opened up eyes when I think you set up a pre-draft workout at Petco Park, and there's a lot of pressure riding on that, to perform well in that big moment. Was there anything what was the advice, and how did you prepare him for that moment?
Yeah, Jack had a lot of eyes on him. He wasn't a huge recruit going in, and we actually did a podcast together about 1.5 years ago, so that would be a good one to reference and listen to. He shares a lot of good insights on how he prepares, how he works. But yeah, to that point, he the Padres were really invested in him. I had a good relationship with the Padres going through with working with Bryce in Boston. And, I was developing a relationship with those scouts and they invited Jack to the workout. There wasn't a lot of teams, all in on a senior hitter, outfielder. It's not really a hot commodity by any means, but he had that one opportunity and he was going to make it happen, every detail, whether it was the 60 time or the grip squeeze on the forearm thing. And then his rounds of BP were relentless. I just remember him telling stories about like everyone at that workout was like, oh yeah, I got one with the Red Sox tomorrow. Yeah, I got one with the Dodgers. And, I got this one and that one. They're asking him, oh, what other ones do you have? He's like, this is all I got. And he performed his absolute best. But I think the truth is like for you to perform in the biggest moments, you can only perform in those biggest moments if you put in so many little moments behind it. And for him, he had so many little moments stacked that when that big opportunity presents itself, it's just another day.
And I would just say, yeah, it's about being prepared for the moment of opportunity. That's something I remember my dad always shared with me is, Brad, be prepared for that moment. And meaning like when no one's watching, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing in your free time? And I know Jack, in his free time, that guy is in the gym and in the cage hours and hours. I mean, he is ready to wake back up the next morning and do it over and over. And that right there, that consistency, those are little wins that add up in the long run.
Totally. Yeah. He spends every moment he can, to get better at his craft. And I think that's what it takes to succeed in such a competitive sport. If you're doing anything that's ultra competitive or ultra high level, you got to be putting in a lot of effort to have success in that arena.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.